In 2017, I founded an organization that we called Soul Force Politics, and it was in the shadow of the first Trump presidency and the growing political polarization that existed in our country, and looking to show people ways that we can bridge the divides and come together in a common sense way to solve problems in our communities again. I found myself unexpectedly running for Congress in the 1st Congressional District here after January 6th. And during that period of time, I put the organization on a sabbatical because I didn't want the nonprofit work to get confused with my political campaign. But at the same time, I elevated the work of Soul Force Politics into my campaign. That was the kind of candidate I ran. I was showing in a real world way how to do this on the campaign trail. And then after that election, I needed some time to decompress. I always find that these big external expressions require an equal amount of internal solace and review to balance the energies. And as I spent time thinking through what I wanted to do with Soul Force Politics, I knew that it was coming with very rich lessons and material from the engagement that I had for 2 years on the campaign trail. During that campaign, our motto was, "We are one." I spent a lot of time in homes all across the 1st District reminding everyone of our common humanity and how we are interconnected, and we shouldn't see each other as labels of Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. We're humans, often with similar dreams and shared struggles, and politics has turned into what divides us when actually our democracy calls us to come forward and work together in ways that we can solve problems and have civil discourse again. There were several different ideas that were popping. I never wanted to abandon Soul Force Politics, and it's still one of our programs. But our board of directors talked about changing the name of the organization to the We Are One Alliance as more of an umbrella organization that reflects a lot of the interests that I have and that they have in addressing various issues. So we, under this umbrella, have a variety of new programs. One of them is Operation Thriving Acres, and then this one really just pops directly out of the campaign. It was a heart promise that I made to veterans that I met along the campaign trail who consistently were letting me know that they wanted opportunities to do more programming where they could interact with nurturing living things, plants, gardening, farming. Because when they nurtured something that was living in that way, it helped lower their trauma and their wounds from war. That they were giving their attention to something that was life-giving instead of life-taking. And I promised that I would find ways to expand programming for farm therapy initiatives. And it wasn't until after the race that I was reading a book called The Well-Gardened Mind that has a lot of really great clinical evidence on why therapeutic horticulture and farm therapy has such an impact on post-traumatic stress for veterans, for those who are incarcerated, for people with disabilities. There's a lot of different service groups that benefit from this. But the veterans piece always was like, oh, well, there's that thing that I was promising these guys I would look into. And around the same time, I got a notification from the New York Botanical Gardens that there was a summer intensive that they were offering for for people to get certification in therapeutic horticulture with a service focus on working with veterans. And I thought, aha, well, one way I can learn about how to deliver on this idea for these guys is to really just dive into it myself. And even if it's not a program for me to start, it'll be important skills that I'll have for interacting with the veterans that I interact with, or additional growing skills on my farm. And while I was enrolled in the program and having to work on different homework assignments and envisioning various projects, I started to dream up this really beautiful idea of how to combine the farm that I live on with my nonprofit's initiatives and this desire to serve veterans, and we've expanded it to include first responders as well, in a program where we are taking on offering therapeutic horticulture and farm therapy initiatives. And I always think it's important with every new program that you crawl and then you walk and then you run. So we're somewhere between crawling and walking on this one. I've reached out and created relationships with chaplains of the Maryland VFW or the Maryland chapter of the Disabled American Vets. I've had them come to the farm. They're interested. They were looking for opportunities because they were hearing from their veterans about wanting opportunities for these kinds of initiatives. And through those relationships, we've started to have small retreats where we're offering these therapeutic horticulture initiatives. And along the way, I was able to apply for and win a grant from the state of Maryland to contribute funding for building a new building to house this programming that has a larger vision of creating vocational job opportunities for the veterans and first responders who come and participate in our programming. So that's one piece that came out of the program, out of the campaign. And it's like, as that started to take form was when I was working with the board about, well, this isn't exactly Soul Force politics. And yet there's a connection here. And like, if we start to broaden the reach of what we're doing through a bigger umbrella of initiatives, there's a lot of strings that can get connected here. Where politics divides us, the land heals us. And many of these veterans started out as being guys that very much disagreed with me politically and were even aggressively against me. And through that Soul Force politics approach, softened the divides, created the connections, made that heart promise. Now we're going to be serving people who are coming to the land for healing and will also benefit from the attitude and approach of the overall attitude that we have at the We Are One Alliance, which is restoring faith in the heart of humanity, one connection at a time. One of the ways that can happen is teaching tangible skills and the muscle memory of how to engage through the Soul Force Politics content. I'm offering 3 new online courses that begin over June, July, and September of this year. We have a growing online community that offers monthly soulful challenges. For example, in June, we're going to do a 21-day gratitude challenge. You get a daily prompt, and you're interacting with everyone else who's signed up in this community, seeing what everyone else's answers and engagement is. You can win, there's a bit of a gamification opportunity. You win points for your engagement that might give you a discount code on a course or give you a year's free subscription for programming, just to encourage engagement and connection in the community. Operation Thriving Acres is right now more of an in-person thing on the farm when we get the building finished. We're taking groups of people through inward expeditions to Costa Rica for a deep internal dive. Some of this work is done really well in groups and in large settings, in a more didactic teaching format. And other aspects of this work can really benefit from a deeper internal dive. And for those who want to both get away to reflect and go a little bit more deeply, but also give themselves permission to play, I'm always encouraging people to remember that all of this work on ourselves and on our culture and doing our best to navigate the chaos cannot be without play. It can't be without joy. We have to give ourselves permission to be human, to engage in that full expression of what it means to be human. And I find women in particular have a hard time giving themselves permission for self-care. We're so busy taking care of everyone else. When do you get away to focus on you and what you need? And I have a stellar team of facilitators who are joining me to offer these retreats through Inward Expeditions. So that's one of our programs. And then the final one, it's called Sacred Dreams Project. And I never intended this to become a program, and yet it makes so much sense that it is. I have spent my whole career and life of service working on water expansion for communities both locally and globally. When I was in college, I went to the Yucatan region of Mexico every Christmas vacation to work on digging new cisterns and improved water systems for the Yucatan region of Mexico. When I was in the legislature, I was involved in efforts to make sure that we didn't frack for water frack for natural gas in Maryland because of its impact on our aquifers and access to clean water. So when I met Dr. Terai Trent from Zimbabwe and learned of her extraordinary personal story of being denied an education as a child bride and coming to this country to get a bachelor's, master's, and a PhD with her 5 children in tow against all odds, where her community helped support this dream that she had, I was so much wanting to help her lift up her visionary dream when it particularly intersects with mine. 8 schools in the 12 schools that she was overseeing through her nonprofit organization lacked access to water. When you've got children walking sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours one way to school, sitting through class all day long in not great building conditions, without running water or food, that is just an experience we can't even imagine here. So I worked with our friends here in Chestertown to create a beautiful event here at Washington College in March of 2024 to raise money to build these wells in her village of Matau and for us to benefit from her teachings and her life experience. And took a small delegation with me to Zimbabwe in June to see this work in progress. Africa is very willing to accept any help we want to give, and yet it is we who are fully changed by going to that continent. And after coming home from that trip and realizing the ways in which it had changed my life in unimaginable ways, I talked with Dr. Trent about an alliance that we could permanently form between our organizations to do this every other year. Let's take a delegation. Let's raise money consistently to keep building these water wells for the schools, for the local communities. And it's not just that we gain water access. We're building gardens and putting in irrigation lines, drip irrigation lines from solar paneled new water systems that get put in place so that it's about sustainable agriculture, access to water, improved educational conditions for the children, and uplifting entire communities. And when people come with us on these trips, they will also gain really phenomenal leadership teachings from me and Dr. Trent as a part of the work project as well. So that's the Sacred Dreams Project. We're going to Zimbabwe with Africa in one, Costa Rica in another, veterans and first responders. There's still soul force politics, and someone might say, Heather, what's the thread through all of this? It's soulful politics, healing land, honoring inner wisdom, lifting up visionary dreams into co-creative potential. This is all a living ecosystem that feeds the same thing, which is our underlying mission to restore faith in the heart of humanity, one connection at a time. There's a show going on right now, and those in charge right now are looking to manipulate our attention. See this? I'm going to do this crazy thing. I'm going to do this crazy thing, and then this crazy thing, and then this crazy thing. And an unskillful response is to just run in the direction with our hair on fire with all of the crazy things that they're doing or proposing. Our clarity about the path of effective action in this moment will come when more and more of us are residing in the wisdom of our own sovereignty, our own internal grace, and insight that will inform what it is that we do, when, and how. And that's the army I'm looking to build. Because there is a building moment. I can't say when it is or what it will be. I do believe I will know when that is. And I want other people with me who are skilled and ready to respond in this non-reactive but very fierce way. Like there's a paradox to be learned from here. So many that you can be soft and fierce. You can be someone who stands up for what you believe in, but do it in a way that embraces someone else and their opinion. I've found consistently the way that I make inroads with people is through a deep level of curiosity and compassion and authenticity that builds trust.